What are the two most common reasons that people give for not focusing on their health, taking care of themselves through physical activity and nutrition? Well, the very first one is that they just don't have enough time. And the second most common answer is just a lack of motivation. And these are very honest answers. However, I think that there's probably another answer that could be at the top of this list that people just don't think of. And that answer is that you just don't fully comprehend the negative impact that avoiding these things has on not just your health, but on other people around you as well, including your children or even just children that you have an influence and an impact in the lives of. And so, I know I'm no fool to the fact that if somebody is just really unmotivated, they don't care about taking care of themselves, maybe they don't see the value in it. Maybe you're like, I don't care about my body image. It's not worth it to me to do all this hard physical activity every day, to eat a little bit healthier. I enjoy these kinds of foods and I don't want to give them up. And if that's the mindset you have and that's where you're at, that's really hard to break. And, no workout program, no motivational speech, almost nothing can really get through to that kind of mindset. The first thing that needs to change is your perspective. And so in this video, I want to try to come at this from a different angle and really try to help you think about how maybe this impacts more areas of your life than you realize. And if you look at it that way, it might affect how you make time for it and how you are motivated, because we're motivated to do things that we think are very important, things that we need to do. Even if we don't want to do them, there's enough motivation at least to make it happen, get it done, and do it for the things that we think are very, very valuable in life. And so that's where I want to come at this today, and maybe from a little bit different perspective than you've come at in the past, because I want to try to get through to you if that's where you're at. Now, there's 4 stages of mentality that I like to kind of put things into and categorize. And the first one, and this is kind of like where you're at in your journey. And it's important to identify this because this video could be applicable to you, or there's other video series that I'm going to be doing that are focused on the different stages. And maybe you're not in this stage, maybe you're in a different stage, but I just kind of want to lay out those stages really quickly before we dive in. The first one is that you're in the contemplative stage. This means you're contemplating whether or not it's really worth it. Is this something I really want to do? Do I really want to make these changes? Should I get in shape? Should I start taking care of myself? And you're still kind of going back and forth in your mind. And so you're starting to think about it, perhaps. Obviously, before contemplative is just, you're not even worried about it. You're not thinking about it at all. And so this video really, in this series, I'm trying to get through to the people who are either not quite into contemplative stage, trying to get you to contemplate, or perhaps you're there and I'm trying to really get you to the next step, which is preparation. And so preparation is a very important step. It's one that so many people skip. And so the next series that we do is going to be really focused on the preparation stages, and perhaps is the most important out of all the series that I'll be doing. But preparation is really thinking through, what does fitness mean to me? What are my goals? And what approach am I going to take to get the results that I want to get? And really to set up a lifestyle that works for you. And so instead of just jumping straight into maybe just Googling answers and trying to find a workout program or a diet to hop on with no direction, no idea of what you're really going after, we really want to get this preparation stage really clear in our minds first and understand what we're trying to do to help keep us focused. The next stage is action. And action is where people oftentimes skip. They go from contemplative to action, and they just start taking action without any preparation. But when we do this in the right order and we go through the preparation stage, then into action, your actions are going to make a lot more difference. They're going to be a lot more meaningful and impactful because you're going to be making the right actions for what you're trying to accomplish. And then the last stage is maintenance. And this is the fun stage. This is where we get to just kind of maintain the results that you've gotten, continue implementing the things that you've learned, and really just continue it for the rest of your life. They say that if you can make exercise and healthy eating a habit for 5 years, you'll never look back. You'll never go back to your old ways, and you'll stick with it for the long term. And even if you can do it for 6 months, your likelihood of being able to continue with it goes through the roof significantly. And so that's what we want. We don't want some 30-day bandage fix or 30-day sprint where you get some results, but then you just don't keep them for the long term. We want to change your entire lifestyle and the way it looks. Now, all this might be jumping ahead for you if you're still at the contemplative stage. And so we want to talk about that first and really try to, again, come at this from a different perspective. So why should you care? Why should you really bother trying to lose weight and going through that effort? Is it really worth it? Maybe, again, you're just not motivated to. It's really tough to carve out the time for it. Well, first of all, something to consider is that over 42% of the United States is obese. That means that they are significantly overweight. They're getting into a range where there's going to be a lot of issues that come with it. There's going to be a lot of health issues, a lot of chronic diseases that are accompanied by being obese. And so a lot of times these things go very hand in hand. Things like cancer, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease being the number one killer, not just in the US, but also in the whole world. All these things are accompanied oftentimes by obesity. And so this is just something to keep in mind. And if you're wondering, am I obese? I'm not really sure. Well, there's a chance that if nothing else, you're overweight if you're asking that question, and you should probably try to lose a little bit of weight anyways, because 72% of people are overweight, even if they're not obese in the United States. And so really, 72%, that's a majority of the population in the United States is overweight. And again, these things are big impactors in other areas of health. And not just to mention, even just all the diseases and sicknesses and health aside, think about all the other impacts it has on the things you can do, your capability to be involved and do activity and do things with your kids, do things with your grandkids, to be around for your grandkids and be here when they're around and able to do things with them. So those are all things just to consider. So what's the big deal? Okay, so 72% of people are overweight. So I'm in the majority, right? I'm overweight. A lot of people are overweight. What's the big issue? Well, as I mentioned, obviously there's all these conditions and issues that can be accompanied by obesity. But additionally, as we mentioned, heart disease is the number one cause of death, followed closely by cancer. And these two things account for 40% of death. So 40% of people will die from heart disease or cancer. That is a significant number. Now, I also don't think it's a coincidence that that number is suspiciously close to the number of people in the US that are obese. Now, just for a little more perspective, every 11 seconds, somebody dies in the United States. So if you count to 11 right now, somebody has died. And then 11 more seconds, somebody else has died. Every 33 seconds, so just 3 times that, count to 33, and every 33 seconds, somebody dies from heart disease specifically. This is a major issue that we face in our country. And perhaps you're like, still not really, that doesn't really move me that much. Like, I'm going to die. We're all going to die eventually. Hey, I get that. I get that kind of thinking. And I'm not saying we need to go the opposite extreme of like overly obsessing of trying to preserve your life and extend your life and all these things. I'm not on that extreme either. But what I do want to just talk about really quick is maybe you don't care that much about your own health. Maybe you're not really worried that much if you extend your life 10 more years. Maybe all that stuff's kind of like, doesn't really motivate me to do these things. Well, something to consider is that since 1980, obesity in children has doubled. So now we're not just talking about adults, people who are making their own decisions for their food choices. We're talking about children. Children who are not able to make their own food choices, they're largely being impacted by what is available to them and the way that their parents are eating. So here's just a few shocking stats. At least I was pretty shocked. 19%, over 19% of children and adolescents between the ages of 2 and 19 years old are obese. 19% are obese. Over 35% are overweight. We're talking about kids here. 35% are overweight. And for the first time in our history, we're raising a generation whose life expectancy is shorter than their parents or their grandparents even. And this is very directly tied to lifestyle choices. This isn't just a coincidence. It is hand in hand with lifestyle, lack of activity mainly, and also lack of proper nutrition. Those are going to be the two biggest factors. These are also the two most preventative measures you can take to help prevent all these diseases and all these sicknesses. And so, our healthcare system, it's so reactive, right? It's so based on if you're sick, we prescribe something. If you've got this disease, we prescribe something. The biggest thing, the best thing you can do to prevent all these things is to just be more active and to eat proper nutrition. And it doesn't mean a diet. I'm not for diets. I'm against diets, in fact. And we'll talk more about that in other videos. But all I'm saying is that if you want to prevent a lot of these things or even fix a lot of them, if you have them already, the best things you can do, better than any medication you could take, anything you could do. And I'm not saying all medication is bad or that you shouldn't take medication, but I'm just saying if you're not doing these things first, adding them in, adding activity, adding proper nutrition into your life will make the most significant difference out of anything that you can do. Now, again, why does any of that matter? Well, because now kids are suffering. Never before have we seen type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, liver disease in children, things that they used to just only be things that we thought adults got. And now kids are suffering from these things because of obesity, because of lifestyle. And if nothing else, I would just plead with you to think about the impact that you have on the next generation. Whether you're a parent or not, whether you're going to be a parent, whether you're a teacher or someone influential in the lives of children, it has such a large impact on them, whether you know it or not. A 2016 meta-analysis of 15 prospective cohort studies found that obese children and adolescents were 5 times more likely to be obese as adults. They also discovered that 55% of obese children will be obese into adolescence, and that 80% of obese adolescents will be obese into adulthood. So the habits, the lifestyle that is formed in these children is likely to carry on into adulthood and affect their lives in so many ways. And really think about for you, maybe that's true of you. Maybe you've struggled with this since adolescence. Maybe you struggled with it since your childhood. And that can be very, very difficult to overcome. What I want to encourage you is that it's not impossible. It can be done. Taking small steps is going to be the best route. And if you get to a point where mentally you've decided, yes, I need to do something, I need to make a change, I'm not going to make any more excuses. I see the importance of this. If nothing else, I see the importance it has on the next generation, and I want to be a good example to the next generation. Then my advice would be follow along, subscribe to the channel so that you can see the next series as it comes out of preparation. And I'm going to take you through the exact steps to get results and finally make a change in your life, and to do it in a way that's sustainable and works for you. And that's what's most important. So go ahead and check the description below for some resources that I have available for you, and make sure to subscribe so that you can see the next series as it comes out. And if it's already out, you'll be able to find it right up here somewhere. I'll see you in the next one.